Hey guys, some stupid sketch show guy here with another video, and the last time I did this setup was for the rise and fall of Papo dinosaurs. And that was one of my favorite videos to make, because I tried to make sketchy analytic videos before, but they weren't good. I regret a lot of them, and not many of them are still up. But with that video, I proved to myself that I could do a video like that. So, I'll make another one. This time, it's not going to be about a dinosaur company, but it's going to be about a part of the Dinotube community that started at the turn of the decade, and many thought was just going to be a fad, or maybe it was just me, because I was an idiot. But, turns out, it might be the best thing that Dinotube has at the very moment. Dinogram. Now, in the name itself, it kind of suggests, well, how is this even Dinotube in the first place? It's Instagram, not YouTube. Well, I'll tell you all about it. And it all starts at the very end of 2019. The stage is set. It is November of 2019, one of the worst times to be a Dinotuber. Now, every time since then, there have always been people who have said that Dinotube is dead, or Dinotube ain't as good as it used to be, and it's a fall from grace. I should know. I used to be one of those kinds of people. But 2019 was definitely a very bleak time for Dinotube. On paper, that is. The biggest server in Dinotube, Dino Nation, was shutting down, which honestly turned out to be rather insignificant, because nowadays we got the Creature Lab. But what's more important is what was happening at YouTube. A new rule was being implemented to YouTube, and it went by a simple name: COPPA. Now, what it set out to do was to give YouTubers the option to mark their YouTube content as either for or not for kids. If you marked your video as not for kids, then nothing would happen. Your YouTube video would just be as normal. But if you marked it for kids, it would disable your comments, and also you wouldn't be able to watch the video on your mini player, amongst a few other minor things. But the losing of your comments was definitely the one thing that incentivized a lot of content creators not to do this, because you want to see what your fans have to say about your videos, or at least that's what I think. And a lot of other Dinotubers thought the same thing. But, considering that dinosaur toys are not exactly always for super old and mature people, they're for kids, a lot of people got worried, especially considering that COPPA had implications of having serious fines if you didn't mark your videos properly. While there were a lot of rumors, the biggest one was the possibility of being fined $40,000. Now, was this true? No, but a lot of people believed it, and they weren't going to take their chances. Now, personally, I was in the camp of just thinking that this was all just a huge over-exaggeration, and nothing bad was really going to happen. And while I turned out to be sorta right, the way I went about it was completely wrong, and I was just being a complete douchebag about it. Meanwhile, other Dinotubers had other ways of handling it. They weren't really a fan of what YouTube was doing, so they decided to go to a more fair platform, called Instagram, as well as privatizing all their videos in some cases. So, big channels like Bioniclesaurus, Spino Dude, and Dino Man, and a couple others, all flocked to this new place called Instagram. A whole new world that focused less on making videos and more on pictures. And then, well, COPPA turned out to not be a huge deal, as mentioned before. The only real thing that you can really notice that's different about pre-COPPA and post-COPPA YouTube is the fact that kids' videos no longer have comments on them. That's the only lasting effect at the moment. However, its effect on the Dinotube community was much greater, because even though YouTube became safe, and all those Dinotubers who fled came back, Instagram stayed. So with COPPA not being as big of a threat to the Dinotube community as originally perceived, Dinotubers began to return to YouTube and began posting videos as if nothing had happened. Now, we've never really had a lot of content being posted since 2020, but we still get a couple of Dinotube videos from a couple of the biggest Dinotubers every once in a while. It's not a lot, but it's something. That's mainly because Dinogram is a lot more alive than Dinotube, and that mainly came about because of a few things. With all the Dinotubers that had migrated to Instagram, and now with COPPA now not really being a big threat, you gotta wonder, Well, what do you do with this new social media account? Do you just leave it, or do you make something of it? And a lot of Dinotubers chose to make something of it. Some Dinotubers that were originally not very successful on YouTube became way bigger on Instagram, with such people as Dinoxels, Batar Productions, and Fossil Pharaoh way exceeding their subscriber counts on Instagram, with some even breaking 1,000 followers. And honestly, they deserve it. I mean, look at these guys. Those are some good shots. And the other great thing about this is that it solved one of the problems with being a YouTuber. To put it simply, making videos is a lot harder than taking photographs. So it's a lot more accessible to just take dinosaur photos than it is to make dinosaur videos. A lot of Dinotubers couldn't really keep up with a consistent upload schedule because that's actually pretty hard to do, and it's pretty easy to get burnt out and just run out of ideas. However, it's pretty easy to maintain a decent upload schedule when you're taking pictures of dinosaurs. So this new Instagram thing became a lot more accessible to more people, so more people were making posts, and thus the Dinotube community was more active as it bled over to Instagram. As well as that, there already were people who were doing this Dino toy photo thing way before COPPA happened, and they were now being integrated with the Dinotubers. OGs like Gex Predadoce, Prehistoric Pat, Jurassic Victim, Brennan the Paleo Dude, they were already familiar with this dinosaur figure posting stuff, and now they had more people to join in. And this has led to tons of pretty cool collaborations between new and old Dinogramers and Dinotubers, with Blue Fury Designs working with Spino Dude on stuff like this. And Blue Fury Designs isn't exactly a name you would recognize from the Dinotube community back in the day, because they weren't there. But now they're teaming up with such classic Dinotubers as Spino Dude, and now we're getting more cool stuff. And if that wasn't all great already, I can at least say from personal experience that Instagram has been a great tool to help me reconnect with either older Dinotubers that I hadn't talked to in years, or just make new Dinotube friends. Now, is Dinogram perfect? Of course not. Nothing is. But it's definitely the best thing going for Dinotube at the very moment, with active group chats and in general just active participation from multiple different old and new Dinotubers on a semi-regular basis. Now, there definitely is plenty of room for actual Dinotube videos on YouTube to still be made, and there are definitely Dinotubers who kind of wish that this same activity was still on YouTube. But for now, this isn't the worst thing in the world. Of course, I can see why people would want more Dinotube videos out there and use that as a basis to say, this is a very inactive community. And you know what, Dinotube isn't a super active community, but I'll tell you this, it's definitely more active than it was right when COPPA hit. And that's why I don't really say Dinotube is dead. Is it super active? It never really was. But to say that it's dead is, I'd say it's a little bit of a stretch, because I've seen it dead. I've seen it almost dead and then be proven wrong. And I think this is definitely the culmination of being proved wrong. Even if it is not super active, Dinotube will always have a heartbeat in some way or another. Whether it's one person or 1,000 people who want to make content about dinosaur figures, whether it's a picture or whether it's a video, Dinotube will always exist in some way or another. And I find peace in that, considering that I've been a part of this community for over 4 years. Now, will it be the same as the old glory days of 2013 or 2016? No. Things change, and sometimes you gotta let go of how things used to be. Right now, Dinogram is the new way that Dinotube is going to be represented, and as they say in Spider-Man 3, it's hip, it's now, it's wow, and how.